Namaskar and welcome to Midday Prime. Over the next 1 hour, this is the place to be for news and updates from India and the world, also from the world of business and sports, and time permitting, also from the world of art and culture. But President Ram Nath Kovind will be visiting his birthplace and he'll be traveling by train. Let's begin with all the big news at this hour. President Ram Nath Kovind, along with his wife, boards a special train from Safdarjung railway station for his native place in Kanpur in Uttar Pradesh. It's after 15 years that an incumbent president has undertaken a train journey. In 2006, President APJ Abdul Kalam visited Chandigarh and Dehradun by train. The Delhi government had sought 4 times more oxygen than they required. The Supreme Court Oxygen Audit Panel puts the Delhi government in the dock. The BJP terms it as unbelievable, says Arvind Kejriwal, and Delhi government politicized oxygen supply when COVID was at its peak. Prime Minister Narendra Modi remembers the dark days of emergency, says the emergency period witnessed systematic destruction of institutions. Also remembers all those greats who resisted the emergency and protected the Indian democracy. On completion of 46 years of emergency, Union Minister Amit Shah, Nitin Gadkari term emergency as a dark chapter in India's history. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh visits the country's first indigenous aircraft carrier, which is in an advanced stage of construction by the Indian Navy. Says commissioning of IAC next year will be a befitting tribute to 75 years of India's independence. In a money laundering case, the ED conducts raids at former Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh's premises across Mumbai and Nagpur. The ED probe relates to the CBI's FIR against Deshmukh in the case. The Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh had levelled serious corruption allegations against Anil Deshmukh. Fresh cases of COVID-19 continue to decline in the country. The vaccination campaign picks up pace with the total jabs now crossing 30 crore 79 lakh. And active cases in India have reduced to 6 lakh 12,000. The recovery rate increases to 96.66%. The Union Education Minister, Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, to hold discussions with students today. They're going to discuss their concerns and also queries related to the evaluation of CBSE exams. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to leave on a 2-day visit to Greece and Italy today. And to make a bilateral visit to Greece, will be attending also a meeting of the foreign ministers of G20 countries in Italy. So as always, here's the big story up first. President Ram Nath Kovind, along with his wife, embarked on a journey to Kanpur on a special presidential train today from Safdarjung railway station in Delhi. The two will make 2 stopovers at Jhinjak and Rura off Kanpur Dehat, where the president will interact with his old acquaintances and also these are from his school days and also from the early days of social work that he was doing. And this is the first time that the president will be visiting his birthplace after he took over his present assignment, and his choice of the mode of journey by train is in line with the tradition of a number of presidents who took a train journey to connect with the people in various parts of the country. It will be after 15 years now that an incumbent president will be making a train journey. The last time a president traveled by train was in 2006 when Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam had boarded a special train from Delhi to Dehradun to attend a passing out parade of cadets of the Indian Military Academy. On June 28, the President will board the train at Kanpur Central Railway Station to reach Lucknow for his two-day visit to the state capital. On June 29, he will return to Delhi by a special flight. Let's now move to our developing story. The Supreme Court's oxygen audit team has put the Delhi government in the dock for exaggerating the oxygen requirement by more than 4 times during the April 25 to May 10 peak of the second COVID wave. The Oxygen Audit Committee has noted gross discrepancy in actual consumption claimed in comparison to calculated consumption in the national capital. Meanwhile, the subgroup's interim report said that the Delhi government's claim of 1,140 metric tons was 4 times higher than the calculated consumption as per bed capacity formula, which was 289 metric tons only. The oxygen audit team also informed the apex court that the supply of excess oxygen to Delhi could have affected the supply to 12 states that had a high caseload at the time. On the 5th of May, the apex court had ordered the centre to supply 700 metric tons daily to Delhi, though the centre had argued that it was an inflated claim. However, the court held the accountability to states and union territories on oxygen received from the centre. The Supreme Court last month constituted a 12-member national task force to assess and recommend the availability and supply of medical oxygen and essential medicines to states and union territories. The oxygen audit panel was led by AIIMS Director Randeep Guleria and included Delhi Government Principal Home Secretary Bhupinder Bhalla, Max Hospital Director Sandeep Budhi Raja, and Jal Shakti Ministry Joint Secretary Subodh Yadav. The Union Minister Prakash Javadekar has lambasted the Delhi government. In a tweet, he said, "Actual oxygen consumption claimed was about 4 times higher than the calculated consumption, due to which other states had to bear the loss. Someone should learn to make a noise from the Delhi government." Well, the BJP national spokesperson Sambit Patra also hit out at the Delhi government over the Supreme Court's oxygen audit team report, and he said that data presented by the Oxygen Audit Committee in the report is shocking and that the Delhi government politicized the oxygen supply when COVID was at its peak.
ऑक्सीजन को लेकर जिस प्रकार की राजनीति अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने और दिल्ली सरकार ने किया, आज उसका पर्दाफाश हुआ है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक ऑक्सीजन ऑडिट पैनल, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने यह निर्धारित किया था, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इस पैनल को स्थापित किया था और वो पैनल का रिपोर्ट कहता है कि जो ऑक्सीजन की रिक्वायरमेंट दिखाई गई थी दिल्ली सरकार द्वारा, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी द्वारा, वो 4 गुना बढ़ा करके दिखाई गई थी। 4 times inflated oxygen requirement by Delhi.
He further added that the Delhi government is spreading lies all over the country to hide its own failures of managing COVID-19, and he said that over 12 states had to suffer because of Delhi's inflated demands.
ऑक्सीजन की रिक्वायरमेंट दिखाई गई थी दिल्ली सरकार द्वारा, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी द्वारा, वो 4 गुना बढ़ा करके दिखाई गई थी। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के इस झूठ के कारण 12 ऐसे राज्य थे पूरे हिंदुस्तान में जो अफेक्टेड हुए अपने ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई को लेकर, क्योंकि सब जगह से ऑक्सीजन काट करके दिल्ली भेजना पड़ा। आप सोचिए जरा, ये जघन्य अपराध अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने किया है।
Vikas Sarthi now joins us with more inputs on this. Well, Vikas, now that the Supreme Court knows the reality, the fact that it had ordered Delhi to have 700 metric tons at that time of liquid medical oxygen seems well in excess at that point of time. So, you know, what's the next stage? What's likely to happen to the Delhi government? Is the Supreme Court, likely to pronounce some sort of punitive measures?
Well, Mark, Supreme Court will hear this matter probably sometime in July, and then we'll go into this report. This is an interim report which has given by the sub-group on the oxygen audit. Most of the figures which have been mentioned in this interim report are based on the figures given by Petroleum and Explosives Safety Organization, and that report had clearly said that there were 4 hospitals in Delhi which were reporting at least 4 times higher oxygen demand, though they didn't have so much ICU, so much COVID beds. Still, they were seeking a huge supply of oxygen. When this discrepancy was pointed out in a meeting, then suddenly that figure was corrected, and after that it was found that the demand was somewhere around 289 metric tons. So definitely for some days there was a situation of panic, not only in Delhi but in the neighboring states as well, because of these miscalculations. Mark.
Well, these miscalculations can also indicate that, that all is not well underneath that, because of course there was a great need and a huge demand for oxygen. The reports were suggesting that, people were short of oxygen. So what was happening to that oxygen that was supplied in the end, because if only 289 metric tons was used? Where did it go? That's another big question, isn't it?
Mark, in fact, that much oxygen was not supplied. The 1140 metric ton was not available, in fact, for Delhi at that point in time. And then Supreme Court said that at least you should be given, that Delhi should be given at least 700 metric ton. Apart from it, it was also found by the expert group that states, including Delhi as well, there was not proper use of available oxygen. There were several issues which could have been addressed to avoid the wastage of supplied oxygen, and those recommendations have also been made in this interim report. Apart from that, this task force has also said that just like the LPG and CNG, there must be a pool, there must be a store of oxygen as well in the country, because what we have seen in the time of crisis that there was a huge gap in demand and supply. So there must be a kind of storage facility for oxygen, just like LPG and CNG supplies.
Okay, thanks very much, Vikas, for those inputs. Moving on then to our next story. Let's take a look at fresh COVID data from across the country as released by the Ministry of Health. So India has reported 51,667 new cases in the last 24 hours, and with the country's active caseload now declining to 6,12,868. 2,91,28,267 total recoveries have been recorded across the country so far, with 64,527 patients recovering in the last 24 hours. The daily recoveries continue to outnumber the daily new cases for the 43rd consecutive day. The recovery rate has also increased to 96.66%. The weekly positivity rate remains below 5%, currently at 3% in fact. And the daily positivity rate is at 2.98%, and that's less than 5% for 18 consecutive days, below 3% in fact. India also continues to cross milestone after milestone. This is in the vaccination drive. 30.79 crore vaccine doses have been administered so far under the nationwide vaccination drive, and of these, more than 60.73 lakh people have been vaccinated in the last 24 hours. And the Indian Council of Medical Research certifies that 39 crore 95 lakh 68,448 samples have been tested so far in the country, which include 17 lakh 35,781 samples which were tested yesterday. The central government continues to provide COVID vaccines through the free of cost channel, also through the direct state procurement category to states and union territories. And in total, over 30.54 crore vaccine doses have been provided to the states and union territories thus far. Of this, the total consumption, including wastage, is around 29.04 crore. So, over 1.5 crore COVID vaccine doses remain available with the states and union territories to be administered. Also, over 47 lakh vaccine doses are in the pipeline, and they'll be received by the states and union territories in the next 3 days. Mumbai City will probe the fake vaccination drive case at length, and thus a special investigation team has been constituted under the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Vishal Thakur. So far, 10 accused have been arrested and FIRs have been lodged at 5 different police stations in this case. Recently, the Bombay High Court had given strict instructions to the BMC and the Maharashtra government to ensure such drives don't get conducted again. The High Court also sought a reply from the government by the 29th of June. So let's shift focus now. Our attention is now moving to our National Prime segment. So it's been 46 years now since emergency was imposed on the country. It was for 21 months, imposed from 1975 to 1977 across the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi remembered the dark days of emergency. He tweeted, "The period from 1975 to 77 witnessed a systematic destruction of institutions. Let us pledge to do everything possible to strengthen India's democratic spirit and to live up to the values enshrined in our Constitution." This is how the Congress trampled over our democratic ethos. We remember all those greats who resisted the emergency and protected Indian democracy. Terming emergency as a dark chapter in India's history, the Home Minister, Amit Shah, tweeted, "On this day in 1975, the Congress in its arrogance of power killed the world's largest democracy by imposing emergency in the country. Several satyagrahis were imprisoned overnight, curbing the freedom of press, taking away the fundamental rights of the citizens. They made the parliament and the court a mute spectator. The emergency imposed to quell the voices against one family is a dark chapter in the history of independent India. Salute to the sacrifice of all countrymen who fought relentlessly for the protection of the Constitution and democracy of the country while suffering brutal tortures of the ruthless rule for 21 months. The Union Minister Nitin Gadkari also took to Twitter saying, 25th June 1975 was the darkest day in India's democracy and in the democratic history of our country. On this day, emergency was imposed in the country. Crores of people of the country fought with their all for the protection of democracy. They suffered tortures and went to jail. I salute all those defenders of democracy." Moving on then, the Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today visited the country's first indigenous aircraft carrier, which is in an advanced stage of construction by the Indian Navy. The Defence Minister also was accompanied by the Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Karambir Singh. So after reviewing the aircraft carrier, the Minister said that the commissioning of the IAC next year is going to be a befitting tribute to 75 years of India's independence. He termed the indigenous aircraft carrier, or the IAC project, also Project Seabird, that he reviewed yesterday at Karwar. These are shining examples of Atmanirbhar Bharat, the Defence Minister said. He said that the Modi government is committed to building a strong navy. He also referred to the recent decision to acquire 6 submarines under Project 75 India. This is for 43,000 crore rupees. He said all these measures, which include Seabird, IAC Vikrant, they will increase the Navy's reach.
It was a pleasure to review firsthand the work being done on the indigenous aircraft carrier, which is India's pride and a shining example of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Commissioning of this indigenous aircraft carrier next year will be befitting tribute to the 75 years of India's independence. I also reviewed Project Seabird at Karwar, which will be the largest naval base of the Indian Navy in future. The government is fully committed to a strong Navy, and these 2 projects are examples of our unwavering focus and our impetus in India's indigenous industry and know-how is a key priority.
Well, Rajnath Singh also hailed the Navy's proactive forward deployment. This was during the standoff with the Chinese troops last year. He said that it signaled India's intent. India is defense ready for any hostility with China.
The Indian Navy remains poised and combat ready to tackle any challenge, and Navy's proactive forward deployment during the Galwan standoff signaled our intent that we seek peace but are ready for any eventualities. Our efforts are in alignment with the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of Sagar, or security and growth for all in the region, and the wider goal of a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific to ensure peace and stability in the region.
The Enforcement Directorate conducted raids at the former Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh's premises. This is across Mumbai and Nagpur, and it's in a money laundering case. The case pertains to the allegations of corruption leveled by the former Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh against Anil Deshmukh in March this year. The ED had registered a case against Deshmukh shortly after the CBI's FIR against him in the case relating to the alleged demand of 100 crore rupees. Meanwhile, the ED had recorded the statement of the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Raju Bhujbal. In this case on Thursday, Bhujbal is presently in charge of the enforcement wing of the Mumbai Police and has the social service branch under his jurisdiction. So what does this branch do? It conducts checks and raids on pubs, hookah parlors, dance bars and restaurants. The senior Maharashtra BJP leader and former MP Kirit Somaya has said that Anil Deshmukh will soon be behind bars along with the Transport Minister Anil Parab. This is for their alleged involvement in the money laundering case.
अनिल देशमुख के घर पे आग छापे है, लेकिन आने वाले कल के दिनों में वो जेल में भी जाएंगे। जो वादे वसूली गैंग और घोटाले का पैसा उन्होंने कलकत्ता बोगस कंपनी के द्वारा अपने परिवार में लिया, अनेक उसके एविडेंस डॉक्यूमेंट्स मिले हैं। छगन भुजबल ने इसी प्रकार से घोटाले का पैसा स्वयं की कंपनी में लाया था, 3 साल जेल में रहे थे। अनिल देशमुख की यही अवस्था होने वाली है।
And Yogesh Sheetal now joins us with more inputs on the story. Well, Yogesh, so the police making progress, the Enforcement Directorate also making progress. You know, how far have we gone now in this case? Because this allegation has been there for quite some time, 100 crore rupees, you know, from bars and restaurants and all these places. He also specified the modus operandi and how it should be raised. So, you know, tell us where it's going.
See, Mark, this is the second time raid is being conducted against Anil Deshmukh. This particular raid, the second time raid is being conducted under provisions of Prevention of Money Laundering Act, that is PMLA. The sections basically dealt by the Enforcement Directorate. Now, we know that already CBI already carried out investigation against Deshmukh in corruption and also misconduct charges following the directions of the Bombay High Court. However, 2 paragraphs of the FIR have been challenged in the court, and now the order has been reserved on that particular FIR. But that is a different case. This case, which is being probed by the Enforcement Directorate, this case is related to the money transactions, especially of some alleged shell companies which were run by Anil Deshmukh's son's associates.
Okay.
So basically, the corruption charges and misconducted charges which are being which are being probed by the CBI is different from this particular case which is currently being probed by the Enforcement Directorate. Now, what we are being given to understand that at this point in time, raids are being carried out not only in Nagpur but also different locations in Mumbai, and just Enforcement Directorate is trying to get some concrete evidences to prosecute him in this case, because it is believed that some evidences are already, you know, a lot of things have already been scanned by the agency, and that is the reason this raid is being conducted. Also, very important thing, we know that Anil Deshmukh, because he has been the former Home Minister of Maharashtra, so just to ensure the security arrangements, also CRPF were deployed, CRPF forces were deployed in the Nagpur residence where raids were conducted. Finally, Enforcement Directorate has not, disclosed anything to media, so it remains to be seen that what comes out. But one thing which is very important is that the CBI and ED, both central agencies are currently investigating the charges against Anil Deshmukh. We know that a couple of months back Anil Deshmukh had to quit as a Home Minister of Maharashtra when the allegations were leveled by the then Mumbai Commissioner Paramveer Singh, who was later transferred. But the allegations that were leveled were very of grievous charges, and that's the reason 120B of IPC and also some sections of prevention of corruption, prevention of corruption charges, Corruption Act. So these two, IPC and also Prevention of Corruption Act. So these two cases, under these two acts, also FIR have been filed by the CBI. So currently the investigation in both the cases are underway. Yeah, Mark.
Okay, thanks very much, Yogesh Sheetal, for those inputs. Now moving on to our next story, which is news just coming in from Jammu and Kashmir, where one identified terrorist has been gunned down and killed during an encounter between the police and security forces and terrorists in Hanjipora area. This is of Shopian. And the police and the security forces, they are currently engaged in this. Their further details are awaited. Well, the BJP leader and Jammu and Kashmir Deputy Chief Minister Kavinder Gupta has said that the meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and all political parties of the Union Territory, this meeting has been constructive. Speaking to the media, he said that the election will be held after the delimitation process. After that, an assembly will be constituted once again in Jammu and Kashmir.
मीटिंग कुल मिलाकर के मुझे लगता है कि एक मत बना कि आने वाले समय में जम्मू कश्मीर में लोकतांत्रिक प्रक्रिया शुरू हो। जम्मू कश्मीर डेवलपमेंट के दौर में आगे आए और 5 अगस्त 2019 के बाद जिस प्रकार से विकास का एक नया दौर चल रहा है, उससे भी बेहतर स्थिति जम्मू कश्मीर की बने। बाकी हमें लगता है कि इस मीटिंग के फ्रूटफुल नतीजे आएंगे और डिलिमिटेशन के बाद जल्द ही इलेक्शन करवाए जाएंगे और जम्मू कश्मीर भी चाहता है और भारत सरकार भी चाहती है कि जम्मू कश्मीर में एक चुनी हुई विधानसभा वहां पर आए।
The Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar today reiterated that the centre is ready to resume talks with the protesting farmer unions. This is over the farm laws, though he ruled out any withdrawal of the reforms. He's speaking to the media and he said that whenever the proposal will come up for this meeting, the government will talk about it.
किसानों से जो यूनियन के नेता हैं, उनसे 10-11 बार भारत सरकार बात कर चुकी है। 50 घंटे से अधिक चर्चा चली है। उनकी जो परेशानियां हमने समझने का प्रयत्न किया है और आज भी भारत सरकार पूरा मन रखती है कि किसान जिस प्रावधान पर उन्हें आपत्ति है वो खुले मन से बताएं। हम विचार करने के लिए, निराकरण करने के लिए भी तैयार हैं।
The Union Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank will interact with students. He'll be clarifying their doubts related to the evaluation of the CBSE board exams. The students can share their doubts through social media platforms. Now, the CBSE has submitted the alternative CBSE Class 12 assessment criteria to the Supreme Court. The board has announced its alternative assessment policy for both classes. The CBSE 12th result of 2021 will be based on the CBSE Class 10 results for the batch, their performance in Class 11 and in Class 12. The External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, will begin a 2-nation visit, and this will be to Greece and Italy. And the Ministry of External Affairs' spokesperson, Arindam Bagchi, in a briefing yesterday, he said that Greece would be the first. This would be the first bilateral visit. It will happen on the 25th and 26th. This is for talks with the Greek counterpart, and apart from other engagements there. And this will be the first EAM level visit to Greece in 18 years, the last one being in 2003. He said that in Italy, the minister will attend a meeting of the foreign ministers of the G20 countries and another development of ministers of the bloc. So the G7, I beg your pardon, the G20, it's an intergovernmental grouping, in fact, which comprises 19 countries and the European Union. And since December 2020, Italy has held the presidency of the G20. In the Narda scam case, the Supreme Court today directed the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee and the State Law Minister Molloy Ghatak to seek permission from the Calcutta High Court to file an affidavit again, and the High Court had refused to take on record affidavits filed by them in the CBI's transfer plea in this case. The court had said that both the leaders sought permission to file an affidavit following the hearing in the case, which is against the procedures of the court. In its order, the Apex Court said that Mamata Banerjee and Molloy Ghatak, they should file a fresh application before the High Court by June 28th to get their affidavit accepted. The Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry Regimental Centre showcased its latest batch of 614 passing out young soldiers from the from the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The 15th Corps Commander, Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, reviewed the passing out parade of 614 cadets. 2,782 cadets from the Union Territory have joined the JAK Light Regiment. And this has happened in the last 2 years. The dauntless young soldiers of this regiment, they hail from all regions of Jammu and Kashmir. They marched in precision, in unison, and they have the singular aim of devoting their lives to the service of the nation. They sang their regimental song as well. This is inspired by one and all of their voices echoed in the Kashmir Valley. You're watching Midday Prime. Let's catch up now with news from the world of business. And Ajay Mishra now joins us with all the news from the world of business. We're going to go across to Ajay. Yeah, there he is. Ajay is with us.
Thanks very much, Mark. We'll start with an assurance of Finance Minister to the investors out there about the fiscal situation in India. The Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman participated in a global investor roundtable organized by US-India Strategic Partnership Forum through video conferencing. Finance Minister said that the continuous bold reforms taken by the government in the last 6 years has made India a great place to do business. He added that India is rising as a global economic powerhouse with the help of macroeconomic stability, infrastructure-led economic growth, opportunities, and financial sector reforms. During the event, investors deliberated over the potential investment opportunities in India and ongoing policy reforms that will facilitate ease of doing business in the country. Sitharaman also stressed on building a self-reliant India driven by intent, inclusion, investment, infrastructure, and innovation. She added that the new opportunities have emerged for foreign investors with recent FDI reforms, privatization policy, and production-linked incentive scheme. And the Indian benchmark indices edged higher in Friday's noon deal after a volatile start, although heavyweight Reliance Industries capped the gains. The S&P BSE Sensex was up 220 points or 0.41% at 52,910 levels, and the Nifty 50 index hovered around 15,850 zone. Tata Steel, Tech Mahindra and HCL Tech were the top Sensex gainers, while Reliance Industries was down 2%. It was a top laggard. Majority of the Nifty sectoral indices traded in the green, led by Nifty Metal and Nifty PSE Bank indices up over 2% each. Meanwhile, the broader markets outperformed, with the S&P BSE mid cap and small cap indices trading 0.9% and 0.5% respectively. India has flagged its concern at the sustained increase in the global crude oil prices. Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan, in its meeting with the OPEC Secretary General, said that oil prices must maintain a reasonable band, and it will be in the collective interest of both consumers and producers. The sustained demand in the crude has made the commodity price go up by 45% in the last 6 months.
India has expressed concern over the increasing crude oil prices globally and its impact on consumers as well as on smart economic recovery. The concern was articulated by Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan during his meeting with OPEC's Secretary General Mohammad Sansui Barkindo. During the meeting, Pradhan emphasized that high crude prices is adding significant inflationary pressure on India.
The rising trend in global crude oil prices during the past few months is giving both the government and Indian citizen a lot of anxious moments. India believes OPEC has a major role in shaping oil price and availability, and current high oil price dent the economic development of many countries.
Pradhan reiterated India's request of phasing out production cuts. He also said that crude prices remaining within a reasonable band will be in the collective interests of both consumer and producers and will encourage a consumption-led recovery. Oil prices had crashed last year in the wake of a raging pandemic worldwide, resulting in drying up demand. It recovered in the following months and reached at $50 per barrel by the end of last year. However, the sustained cut by the oil-producing countries has pushed the global crude prices further. Brent has gained more than 45% this year and it is hovering at $75 per barrel. The rally is supported by supply cuts led by OPEC Plus and its allies, and as easing coronavirus restrictions boost demand. OPEC grouping accounts for a major part of India's crude oil imports and around 40% of global production. Meanwhile, all eyes are on the upcoming meeting of OPEC Plus on July 1st, which may discuss easing of crude output after nearly a year of a staggering cut. Abhishek Jha, DD India.
Well, that's all in the Business Prime. For more news and updates, let's go back to Mark.
Thanks very much, Ajay. Let's now move across to our next segment, which is news across the globe. Let's now take a look at COVID-19 updates from across the world. As many as 18.08 crore people have so far tested positive for COVID-19 across the world, while more than 16.54 crore patients have recovered from the virus. The deadly virus has so far claimed the lives of 39.17 lakh people globally. The US continues to be the worst affected country from COVID-19. As many as 3.46 crore people have tested positive for the virus in the country. Deaths in the United States due to COVID-19, they stand above 6.18 lakh. Japan has said that it will send 2 million additional doses of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine to Taiwan and Vietnam, and arrangements were being made to send 1 million doses each to Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia and the Philippines. The direct donations, which should help Japan to increase its diplomatic influence in Asia, come as wealthy nations are being pushed now to provide more doses of the global vaccines. This is under the scheme of COVAX, which is that global vaccine scheme, to cover a 200 million dose shortfall. The Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi said that Japan would start to supply 11 million doses in total to regions which include Southeast Asia, Southwest Asia and the Pacific Islands through the COVAX joint venture program. This will be from mid-July. And Japan has pledged $1 billion and also 30 million doses to the COVAX facility, and said this month that its direct shipments to Asian neighbors are being made outside of COVAX to speed up the delivery. So this is also outside COVAX. Downtown Sydney and the city's eastern suburbs, which include Bondi Beach, they will go into a one-week lockdown from midnight today. This is as authorities struggle to contain a spike in the highly contagious Delta COVID-19 virus variant in the city. People who live or they have worked in the 4 local government council areas in Sydney in the last 2 weeks have been ordered to stay at home, except for urgent reasons. People are only allowed to leave their homes for essential work or education, medical reasons, grocery shopping or outdoor exercise. Officials have issued health alerts overnight for more than a dozen new venues scattered across Sydney. The restrictions scheduled to end on Wednesday have now been extended now until midnight of July the 2nd. President Joe Biden urged more Americans to take advantage of the COVID-19 vaccinations on a trip to North Carolina. And he did so on Thursday as the rate of inoculations slows down despite the nationwide effort to get shots in the arm. This is to stop the spread of COVID virus. Well, to those hesitating to get this vaccination done for their first or their second shot, Biden had a succinct message. He said, just do it. And he told them that. Now, over 55% of the adult population has had at least one shot, despite a slew of incentives, including a $1 million lottery prize. Now, the White House acknowledged this week that it would not meet a self-imposed deadline to get 70% of the U.S. adults at least partially vaccinated by July 4th, noting that those aged between 18 and 26 have been especially reluctant to get the shots.
The good news is we have a solution. The science is clear. The best way to protect yourself against the virus and its variants is to be fully vaccinated. It works. If you've gotten your first shot, make sure you get your second one to be fully protected. It's a big deal. And if you're not vaccinated, don't put it off any longer. Just do it. Just do it. And it's never been easier. It's never been easier to do it.
Spain's Balearic Islands, Madeira, Malta, and Barbados. They have been added to the UK's green travel list without requiring quarantine on return. 6 destinations have been added to the government's red list, however. Now, Britain will next month they publish plans to allow fully vaccinated people to travel unrestricted to all countries except those with the highest COVID-19 risk. Under the government's traffic light system, only travelers to a small number of green list countries can avoid quarantine. The travel industry has urged the government to expand the green list when the system is reviewed on June 28. UK Parliament's spending watchdog warned the government that multi-billion-pound COVID-19 test and trace system has improved, but it's still missing its targets. The program, which was given a $30.6 billion budget, was launched by the Prime Minister Boris Johnson in May 2020 to oversee testing of those who thought that they had the virus and then to trace the contacts of those who tested positive. Authorities have also said that the results of millions of tests to find asymptomatic cases have not been reported. Some other international news now, updates. Well, officials in Surfside, Florida, they were able to declare 102 people as safe on Thursday night following the pre-dawn collapse of an oceanfront apartment tower, saying that 99 others were still not accounted for. Rescue crews near Miami, they searched through tons of rubble for anyone who may have survived the collapse, and at least one person has been found dead. Search teams detected sounds of banging and other noises, but no voices coming from the mounds of debris hours after a large section of the Chaplin Towers, the South Condominium in Surfside, Barrier Island town across Biscayne Bay from the city of Miami, crumbled to the ground. After a 4-hour walk at more than 5,000 meters above sea level in the dark and with temperatures of minus 20 degrees Celsius, Chilean police officials, they rescued 27 people, including 2 miners, who were trapped in the midst of a snow blizzard on a mountain range in Antofagasta region. The rescue team began the hike on Wednesday and hours later made contact with the victims, thought to be irregular migrants who were asleep in their vehicles. The emergency was generated by the meteorological conditions present in the area, snowfall winds and poor visibility known as white wind. Trips were organized by foot in groups of 7 to move the victims out of the area. All rescued people, they have been reported to be in good condition. News from the Philippines now. In the Philippines each morning, a group of men and women in rubber boots and gloves can be seen hauling sacks of trash in a seemingly endless task of cleaning one of the world's most polluted rivers. They call themselves the River Warriors. They're a group of volunteers, and this was founded over a decade ago. The sole aim is to pick up garbage in and around Manila's Pasig River. The decade-old group of about 100 people started off as volunteers. Now they receive a basic income from a local government and operate in small groups at different parts of the river, getting the river clean. That's going to be a task for them, but it's also the need of the hour. Well, young scientists in Turkmenistan, they have displayed their innovation. This is in a competition which was organized by the Institute of Telecommunications and Informatics in Turkmenistan. This is in a bid to mark the Day of Science. Around 150 innovative projects from young scientists were submitted in a competition that was aimed at stimulating the desire of talented youth for relevant and meaningful activities in the field of science. The representatives of the secondary schools of the city of Ashgabat and higher education institutions of the country participated, and depending on the degree of prizes, the winners of the scientific competition were felicitated. They got diplomas and also some valuable gifts. Changbai Mountains in northeast China have been witnessing a rare phenomenon of a halo due to the thawing of 7 months of freezing. The freezing Tianqi Lake, in fact. So this rainbow-like rare scene, it appears when the sun shines through the clouds containing ice crystals. The beautiful halo formed a picture of the wonderland, in fact, and there were flowing clouds around it as well. Tourists climbed up to the mountain to record this fantastic moment. You're watching Midday Prime. Let's get your news now from the world of sports. And Ashok is joining us now with all the news from the world of sports. Let's go across to Ashok.
Thank you, Mark. Let's start Sports Prime news related to Olympics. A quiz will be conducted by Sports Authority of India to create awareness about Tokyo Olympic Games. You can participate in this quiz by logging to the link http://quiz.mygov.in/quiz to Road to Tokyo 2020. Moving to next news, the Indian contingent will field an unprecedented 15 shooters, pistol, rifle and skeet at the Tokyo Olympics this year. It will be 3 more than the tally of Rio 2016, and Indian shooter contingent will have a realistic chance of recording their best ever performance at the Games. One of the major hopes for the India will be 2019 World Cup gold medalist Manu Bhakar. She is set to represent the contingent across 3 events, the most for any Indian shooters at Tokyo 2021.
I believe that winning a medal is just a push to my passion, my hard work and my faith and my hunger to win more, to achieve more.
Born in Jhajjar, Haryana, a state known for its boxers and wrestlers, Manu Bhaker impulsively decided to try her hand at shooting when she was just 14. Just after the 2016 Rio Olympics ended and her heart on it soon. Within a week, Manu asked her father to get her a sports shooting pistol to hone her craft. Her ever-supportive father, Ram Bhaker, fulfilled her wish, and Manu's burgeoning talent soon manifested itself on the national stage within a year.
खेल में बहुत आगे रही, सब बच्चों को हरा देती, खेला करती है। स्केटिंग भी करना है, मुझे लॉन टेनिस भी खेलना है, मुझे बैडमिंटन भी खेलना है, मुझे टेबल टेनिस भी खेलना है, बॉक्सिंग करना है, जूडो कराटे करने हैं। पापा बोले बेटा एक बार शूटिंग रेंज देख लो अपने स्कूल में। तो वहाँ पे जो कोच थे बोले कि बेटा करो ट्राई। तो मनु ने जो पहला शॉट छोड़ा तो अच्छा उसमें गया, वो खुश हो गई मनु की मुझे शूटिंग मैं पापा मेरी गन मंगवा दो, मुझे अब शूटिंग करनी है, मुझे प्रैक्टिस करनी है सब। फिर वो इसके लिए गन मंगवाई, इसने फिर अपना पीछे मुड़ के नहीं देखा।
At 2017 National Shooting Championship, Manu stunned Olympian and former world number 1 Hina Sidhu, shooting a new record score of 242.3, incidentally breaking Sidhu's record to beat her in the 10-meter air pistol final. She went on to become the youngest Indian gold medalist at the 2018 International Shooting Sport Federation held in Mexico. The same year also saw her making her maiden appearance at the Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, where she shot a CWG record score of 240.9 points to win a gold medal in the women's 10-meter air pistol event. The 2018 Commonwealth Games gold medal was followed by an Asian Games record score in the 25-meter pistol event, and the girl from Haryana's Goria village was suddenly all over the news as the nation prepared for the Tokyo Olympics.
I was really taken when I got to know that I was the youngest Indian to win a ISSF World Cup gold medal, and I was like overwhelmed. Now I'm in the top of Olympic podium scheme. The government has been very helping throughout my shooting years. Whenever we need any equipments or training purposes के लिए ammunition या फिर pistols or anything, everything is being settled by the government.
The proof of Manu Bhaker's phenomenal talent was on display in 2019, when despite not being in top form, she managed to win a gold medal at the 14th Asian Championship, as well as in the air pistol World Cup final in Puxian in China. The icing on the cake was, however, qualifying for the Tokyo Olympics after finishing 4th at the ISSF Munich World Cup in May 2019.
Standing on that podium with a gold medal around your neck and watching my country's flag going high, for me that was a very, very special moment.
While training for Tokyo, she is working to ensure that there is no doubt about her winning the Olympic medals.
To win the Olympic gold medal, I've been working really hard for the past 5 years now, and it has always been my dream, and I literally live it every day. The day starts with the yoga, followed by the training sessions for at least around 5 to 6 hours a day. Then we have workout sessions, followed by the psychologist session.
She remains the brightest prospect for Indian shooting contingent at the Tokyo Olympics and would be eager to etch her name in history. Tapush Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
World number 2 and Youth Olympics and Asian Games champion Saurabh Chaudhary gave India its first medal by winning bronze in the men's 10-meter air pistol event in ISSF World Cup in Croatia in sweltering condition in Osijek, where temperatures at the Pampa shooting range reached 39 degrees centigrade. At the times given, the range was more of an indoor tent setup. Saurabh shot 220.0 in the 8-man 24-shoot final. Bowing out after this 22nd shoot, Iran's Javed Foroughi claimed gold, hit second in successive ISSF World Cup, while the seasoned 3-time Olympian Damir Majkic of Serbia won silver, finishing with scores of 243.0 and 241.7 respectively. In Copa America knockout stage, Uruguay beat Bolivia 2-0 to secure its spot. It was the first victory for the Uruguayans after 3 matches in the tournament. Bolivia, which could have jumped ahead of Uruguay on the table, now has a slim chance of advancing. Bolivian goalkeeper Carlos Lampe One of the best players of the match opened the scoring with an own goal in the 40th minute. Edinson Cavani doubled the Uruguayan lead from short range in the 79th minute at the Arena Pantanal in Cuba. It was the veteran striker first goal for Uruguay since November. Argentina leads Group A with 7 points, followed by Chile with 5. Uruguay has 4, Paraguay 3 and Bolivia none. So that's CNL Sports Prime. Back to Mark. Namaskar.
Well, thanks very much, Ashok, and I'm afraid that's all that we have for you in Midday Prime today. Thank you very much for watching, but remember, the fight is still on. We're all doing our best, and the best way to do that is, first of all, to get yourself vaccinated, but also to keep your mask on, because that's the easiest way to keep yourself protected and those around you protected as well. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.